Welcome, everybody. Welcome to day 9, and we'll just jump right into it. The ninth day, a day of prayer for the souls in purgatory who during life were most devoted to our Blessed Lady. Mary, from her nearness to Jesus, has imbibed many traits of his Sacred Heart. She shares in a preeminent degree his divine compassion for sorrow and suffering. Where he loves and pities, she also loves and pities. Nay, may we not well say that all enduring anguish of soul and writhing under the pangs of a lacerated heart are especially dear to both Jesus and his mother? Was not Jesus the man of sorrows? And did he not constitute Mary the mother of suffering and sorrowing humanity? And even as his divine breast knew keenest sorrow, did not a sword of sorrow pierce her soul? She participated in the agony of Jesus only as such a mother can share the agony of such a son. In the tenderest manner, therefore, does she commiserate sorrow and suffering wherever found. Though now far beyond all touch of pain and misery, still, as the devoted mother of a pain-stricken race, she continues to watch, to shield, to aid, and to strengthen her children in their wrestlings with these mysterious visitants. Nor does Our Lady's interest cease upon this side of the grave. It accompanies souls beyond, and when she beholds those souls undergoing their final purgation before entering upon the enjoyment of the beatific vision, she pities them with a pity all the more heartfelt because their suffering is so much greater than any they could have endured in this life. See the state of these souls. They are in grace and favor with God. They are burning with love for Him. They are yearning with a yearning boundless in its intensity to drink refreshment of life and love and sanctification, and to be replenished with goodness and truth, and to perfect their nature at the fountainhead of all truth, all goodness, all love, and all perfection. They are yearning that so clearly and piercingly does the white light of God's truth and God's holiness shine through them, and penetrate every fold and recess of their moral nature, and reveal to them every slightest imperfection, that they dare not approach Him and gratify their intense desire to be united with Him. Of the nature and intensity of the sufferings of souls undergoing this purification, we on earth can form but the faintest conception. Not so our Blessed Lady. She sees things as they are. She sees the great love animating those holy souls. She sees their great desire to be united to God, the sole center and object of their being. She sees and appreciates the struggle going on in them between that intense desire, that great yearning, that unfulfilled and unsatiated vagueness arising from their privation of the only fullness that could replenish them, on the one hand, and on the other, the sense of their unfitness, keen, strong, deep, intense, overwhelming them and driving them back to the flames of pain until they shall have satisfied God's justice to the last farthing, and every slightest stain has been cleansed, and they stand forth in the light of God's sanctity, whole and spotless. She sees a terrible struggle, and her heart goes out in tender pity to these children, washed and ransomed by the blood of Christ, and she is well disposed to extend to them the aid of her powerful intercession. She is fitly called the Mother of Mercy. Her merciful heart goes out to these, the favored ones of her Son, all the more lovingly because they are unable to help themselves. Brother Azarias. For the following example, we learn how our Lord hastens to deliver from purgatory souls who during life honored His Blessed Mother. In the book of her Foundations, St. Teresa tells us that Don Bernardino de Mendoza gave her a house, garden, and vineyard, which he owned near Valladolid, that she might establish there a convent in honor of the Holy Mother of God. 2 months after this, and before the foundation was effected, he was suddenly taken ill and lost the power of speech, so that he could not make a confession, though he gave many signs of contrition. He died, says St. Teresa, far from the place where I then was. But our Lord spoke to me and told me that he was saved, though he had run a great risk, for that he had had mercy on him because of the gift he had given for the convent of his Blessed Mother, but that his soul would not be freed from purgatory until the first Mass was said in the new house. I felt so deeply the pains this soul was suffering that although I was very desirous of accomplishing the foundation of Toledo, I left it at once for Valladolid. Praying one day at Medina del Campo, our Lord told me to make haste, for that soul was suffering grievously. On this day I started at once, though I was not well prepared for it, and arrived at Valladolid on St. Lawrence Day. She then goes on to relate that as the new building was very extensive and would take a considerable time before completion, she had a temporary chapel prepared for the accommodation of the sisters whom she had brought with her. She deeply regretted her inability to build at once the permanent church, as she feared that until that was done, Don Bernardino should be detained in purgatory. But how great was her consolation when, as the first Mass was being offered in this chapel, she saw in an ecstasy the soul of her generous benefactor ascend to heaven. Rejoicing at his happiness, she thanked our Lord for the solicitude with which he had hastened to deliver him, and became from that time more devoted than ever to the souls in purgatory, as she perceived the great interest taken in them by our Lord. November should be a month for compensations. The debt of love, which we neglected to pay to relatives and friends while they lived with us on earth, we may now discharge, and with generous interest. For the tender sympathy, the loving smile, the kindly word, the helping hand, which we once refused, we may now substitute the fervent ejaculatory prayer, the attendance at Mass, the recitation of the Rosary, all the Stations of the Cross, to atone for the undue rigor of our treatment of many of the faithful departed. We may now gain and apply to them innumerable indulgences, partial and plenary. For those suffering souls who have the strongest claims on our affection or our justice, we should, as far as it is in our power to do so, secure the offering up of the adorable and propitiatory sacrifice of the altar. It is always a holy and wholesome thought to pray for the dead, that they may be loosed from their sins. 2 Maccabees 12 verses 46. It is especially during the present month that Catholic charity yields prompt and generous response to the pleading cry that purgatory is ever sending up to earth. Have pity on me, have pity on me, at least you, my friends, for the hand of the Lord had touched me. Ave Maria. And this is the end of day 9. Thank you guys for listening, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.